The old house loomed out of the fog like a specter from the past, its silhouette a jagged shard against the bruised November sky. Rain lashed against the windows, each drop exploding into a million tiny stars. Inside, a fire sputtered in the hearth, casting flickering shadows that danced macabrely on the walls. There was a knock at the door, sharp and insistent, and then another. Who could it be? On a night like this, the old caretaker wondered, his gnarled hands wrapped around a mug of tea. It was well past dusk, and the guests had long since departed, leaving him to the solitude of the rambling old house. Or had they? He wasn't sure. The house had a way of keeping one off balance, of blurring the lines between night and day, between wakefulness and dream. He set his tea down, the porcelain cup clicking softly on the stone floor, and shuffled toward the door. As he peered through the spy hole, his heart stuttered. Standing on the other side was a girl, her face pale in the dim light that spilled from beneath the door. Her eyes, wide and luminous, seemed to hold an ancient, unsettling sorrow. The caretaker recoiled, his breath catching in his throat. For a moment time seemed to stretch, the silence broken only by the relentless pounding of the rain. Then, as if emerging from a nightmare, the girl was gone. The caretaker blinked, wondering if the damp night had finally claimed his sanity. When he opened the door, all he saw was the swirling fog and the empty street stretching endlessly before him. Had he imagined the whole thing? The rational part of his mind screamed that it was just a trick of the light, a figment of his overactive imagination. Yet a deep primal fear coiled in his stomach, a feeling that something or someone was terribly wrong. He hurried back to the fire, his slippers whispering on the stone floor, and tried to convince himself that there was nothing to fear. But as the night wore on, the shadows in the room seemed to writhe and twist, taking on sinister shapes that stalked and clawed at the edges of his vision. Every creak of the old house, every sigh of the wind through the chimneys sent a fresh jolt of adrenaline through him. He felt a desperate need to flee, to escape the suffocating gloom that seemed to be seeping into his bones. But where could he go? The roads were treacherous, the townspeople superstitious and fearful on nights like these. Besides, where would he go? The old house had been his home for as long as he could remember. Its secrets were his secrets, its sorrows his own, and besides, who would believe his story? They'd think him mad, raving about spectral maidens and haunted houses. As dawn began to break, painting the eastern sky with the softest hues of rose and gold, the caretaker's fear gradually subsided, replaced by a bone-deep weariness. The fire had died down to a pile of glowing embers, and the shadows in the corners seemed less menacing in the pale morning light. With trembling hands he got up, his joints aching from a night of fear, and his clothes damp with the dewdrops of a troubled sleep. He looked out the window and saw that the rain had stopped. In the distance, a faint light glimmered where the town should be, promising warmth and the comforting chatter of waking folk. As he pulled on his coat, a sudden gust of wind rattled the window panes, and for a fleeting moment he thought he heard a whisper that sounded like a sigh.